Hi, everybody. Hi, here we are up at the indoor campfire here at, don't worry, we didn't really light a campfire, it's the fireplace. We moved the setup to be with the fireplace behind us, so we are telling stories by the campfire.
That was my idea.
Yes, she's a genius. This is Rachael Davis, anyone who doesn't know. I am Rachael Davis's mama, and we were just yucking it up here and talking about, well, you tell what.
Well, I just said that it would be fun to tell a fun anecdote at the beginning of the stream because my friend Scooter is here. We have a live studio audience this evening. We've got my friend Scooter is here. We've been friends since first grade, and also my niece Layla is here. But we were just talking about how when we were in high school, after choir concerts, we would all come over here and hang out, and T.I. would tell us scary stories and scare the living hell out of all of my friends. And like there was like a pile of like 13 chorus kids, teenagers in here, all piled on top of each other, like clutching each other's faces, and how my friend like Bria Box came to school like a week later, and she was like, "I haven't slept for an entire week," and then all the other kids were like, "Yeah, I've had my lights on the entire time. I haven't even gone in the bathroom since I heard that story about the slinky lady."
The Scooter ended up just sleeping, snoring away. Big deal.
I did that with Layla's
I know,
friends.
he says you're watching.
Yeah, Layla.
You are, you're right there.
There he is, he's
Yeah.
here watching. And Layla had a Halloween party, and I told ghost stories.
Oh yeah, you got the silent commentary.
Right. So I told some of those stories to Layla's friends one Halloween here. And when I saw them a couple weeks ago subbing for the high school band, it was the Friday before Halloween, and it was like, "You're not going to tell us ghost stories again, are you?"
Which stories did you tell them?
I don't remember. What
Was
were
it the
stories?
Slinky Lady?
No, you told the lodge story.
I told a lodge story.
But Pete's lodge story.
Gross.
Oh,
Oh, that was not even that scary.
No, that was kind of
It is for
scary.
people that haven't heard it before.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I've heard it.
Because
a lot.
we know the ones that are terrifying.
Yeah, I'm not. I was trying to, I've been listening to. I've been trying to find more paranormal podcasts. Like, I love Jim Harold's Campfire. I love Common Mystics. I love The Dark Paranormal and Spooked. Oh my God, I love Spooked. But I listen to it the way that I listen to, like, NPR in the morning. Like, there's really, like, very few stories that jump out at me now that are like, oh my God. Like, I'm trying to remember. There was one on The Dark Paranormal, the St. Liars story. That one freaked me out. And then there was another one that I just heard recently that it didn't spook me out, but it was a good story where it was like, oh, like
That was the most recent one on Spooked we were talking about.
yeah, which one was that?
It was the one about a living ghost.
Yeah, that's right. Where it was just interesting to listen to,
Yeah,
but
about the anomalous universe.
I don't get scared by ghost stories anymore. Like I'm sad that they don't scare me anymore. I just have a different relationship with that whole idea concept now.
You know, I think that's an evolution when I was your age and a little bit younger is the time that I was coming into my awareness
Yes.
of my ability to connect with spirit and to recognizing those where the veil was and recognizing things beyond the veil. And I think that unfortunately or fortunately you've gotten not only my genetic material but upbringing, and so you're getting to be that place where it gets to a thing where, well, they're spooky. I love listening to those stories and they're fascinating to me. But it's not like, oh my God, I'm terrified, because
Yeah.
I understand that it's just part of reality.
Yeah, where it's not even uncomfortable, like how spooky things used to be uncomfortable, and there was this element of the unseen that was like beyond control, and I don't feel that way anymore. It's not. It's like if you're driving down a road without a map, and it's like you don't know where that road is going to go, but if you have a map, you kind of know where to go.
Right.
And that's what it feels like. Like you're nervous. You don't know how long this road is without that map.
Right.
And it's like you have some kind of concept, understanding of what it is. And also, too, maybe a little bit of, I don't even know how to put it now. Like recognizing the ability that we have in our family, like the inherited. It's part of the family culture, but it's also something that people in our family inherit, and it being like not necessarily encouraged, but just kind of like recognized and nurtured, and it's just not. It just doesn't feel scary anymore.
I think what you're saying is you miss the adrenaline rush.
I like miss the excitement of like hearing a scary story, like piling with all my friends in the living room here and like really being scared by the slinky lady. Like, oh my God, I'm gonna throw up. And like hearing that story. And now like with your book, like that whole story is in the book, but now there's people that go with it. And that was a interesting realization that like all of these stories that terrified me when I was younger have people with really sad stories attached to them. And now that's what I think about.
That was surprising to me too when
Yeah.
I wrote that because they scared me forever, and until they told me their story, until I allowed them
Yeah.
to tell me their story, and it was life changing. You know what we didn't do?
What?
We didn't say, welcome everybody, it's nice to see you.
We just jumped right in there.
And we didn't say, because
We have a lot
we've been
to
having
say.
a conversation for a while. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Here's to another spooky Friday night.
Hi, Joanne. Hi, Elise. Hi, Lexi. Hi, Scooter. Hi, Layla.
I hope you're all doing well, and I know some of you, I don't know if Aunt B is watching tonight, but
Hi,
maybe
Aunt
she'll
B.
catch it. She's not feeling so well, so
We love
get
you.
well quick, and there are several people who are feeling, shall we say, under the weather, and the weather is pretty freaking nasty right now.
It's hard to be under the weather right
Yeah,
now.
and,
you gotta be pretty. You gotta be in pretty rough shape to be under this weather.
Yeah, so we're sending our love and healing blessings that you get well soon.
Cheers, Kristen.
Yeah, cheers. Cheers.
Look at me.
And the
Did you see
excuse
me-
to take a sip.
Did you see me trump that glass? That was tricky.
That was really tricky.
I almost lost it there. Sorry.
So Rachel's in town. She's got a show tomorrow night. Saturday, the
Tomorrow.
what's the date? The 13th?
Yeah, the 13th.
Yeah, up in Leland. Is it sold out?
It is.
Oh, sorry. There's no show. But she's in town for a show that's sold out, so we can't.
It's a John Prine tribute with Seth Bernard and Mark Lavengood. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, I want to
Maybe
go.
some of you already have tickets.
I would love
Hi,
to. be
Channy.
there. So with Rachel in town and it being a Friday, I said, have you got any new things or cool things to talk about? And actually, Rachel has been talking to me this week quite
Yeah.
a bit because of some things going on.
I had to call my mom last weekend for advice for the first time in a really long time. But I don't know if I want to start with that one.
No, we'll save that for the.
Yeah, but I have had to. When I called my mom last weekend and told her what was going on, she was like, "You're gonna be here next Friday. Do you wanna sit in on the spooky Miss Ti?" And I was like, "Uh-huh."
But actually, the story she's going to start with, she also called me for advice.
Yes, and you know what I was thinking too is a pretty clean segue is talking about how I don't get spooked out by spirits anymore, and this was actually the last time that I felt scared. The last time that I was spooked out, felt uncomfortable, vulnerable. I'm not quite sure what it was, but it was in July of 2017. I was up in the Upper Peninsula with the Warblers, with Lindsay, Lou, and May, and we were staying with Lindsay Lou's family. We were having like a rehearsal retreat because we were about to go overseas for a tour in like a month or something. So we were like putting some songs together, practicing, figuring out what we were going to do. And we were staying in Lindsay's family's like hunting cabin, like their deer camp, you know, like in the up north, up in the UP, they've got their deer camps. And so we were staying in Lindsay's deer camp, and her family has had it for a really long time. It's like a mile down the road from where her whole like family compound is. And it's pretty cool. It's like a big one-room place, and it's on the top of this hill, and like there's a sauna that Lindsay's dad built, And it's just, a big one-room cabin with bunks, and there's a teeny tiny little bathroom and then a kitchen area. And it's just cool. It's like a big one-room cabin. And there's a back porch. And down this hill, like you go out the back porch, and then there's a nice tree. Then there's a hill that goes down, and there's like this nicely manicured area around. Like Lindsay's dad like takes the riding mower over there and like mows the lawn area. But then there was a line, like kind of an arbitrary line at the edge of the lawn where it went feral. And it was very well manicured up to that point. And then there's just like, it went down into this like meadow. And then there was this big tree in the middle of this meadow. And there was like tall grasses and wildflowers and, woods all around it. And for some reason, the lawn stopped there. And you know what? It wasn't just one tree. It was 2 trees. Because you could see the trees from, there was a counter with a window over it, that when you stood at that counter, you could see out to this whole meadow. And I was really drawn to that area. And I was energetically drawn to this feral area. And I did, like, the first time I stood there and I looked out at the lawn, I'm like, I wonder why Greg didn't continue to mow over there. Like, why wouldn't he mow that area? That's funny. And then we would hang out outside, we would hang out on the porch, and the more I paid attention to it, the more I realized there was kind of like a little like barrier the energy changed over there. It's like where the line for the manicured lawn was, it was almost like an invisible, I was drawn to it. Like there was something over there. And it was something between the two big trees. And it just felt different. I felt like somebody was watching, and I was like outside. We'd like taken turns in the sauna, and I had come out of the sauna, and it was bright and sunny and beautiful. And I just decided there's no one around. And I just decided to walk down the hill and go check out that area between the 2 trees. And as soon as I walked in there, I felt like I was somewhere where I shouldn't have been. And it almost felt like the cabin and the manicured lawn was in this like bubble. And when I walked there, it popped this bubble. And that whatever was there, like where we were was like invisible or something. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, like, well, first of all, like I was aware that there was something over there. And then when I walked across to go over there, it was like that was aware of us all of a sudden.
Oh, okay.
And then I felt like I'm not supposed to be here. And I like walked like halfway to the trees. And then I was like, nope. And like without even stopping, I just turned right around and went right back out. But then before I stepped over the line onto the manicured lawn, I did this thing that you taught me how to do, where you back out, right? You back out. So I like felt this energy on my back, and then I put the white light around me, and then in my mind, and then I turned around and I walked backwards through there. But at that time, I felt like there was still something like attached to my back or something. Mm. Like it followed me in there. And then that night, the energy we had been in the cabin for 2 nights at this point, I think. And like it was at night, it was super dark out there. It's Iron River, like north, like UP. Just there's nothing out there, and it's super dark at night. And we were hanging out on the porch, and it was weird. Like it was totally fine. And then that night, it was noticeably different, and it was heavy, and it felt like there was something right outside the windows, like the light was like fluorescent light, and like you could see clearly inside from the outside with the lights on, but you could not see, and it just felt like sackcloth hanging over the cabin, like the windows, like there was something right there. And I didn't really like want to acknowledge it or anything. I definitely felt it, but I didn't want to speak it. And we were just like sitting around the table, like playing music, writing songs or whatever. And then it was time for bed, and we were sleeping in bunk beds. And I was sleeping in a bunk bed on one side of the room, and then Lindsay and May were on the other side, you know, just across. And I woke up in the middle of the night. I have no idea what time it was, but it was like that oppressive feeling, like my face was prickly. First of all, I woke up because I heard mice scratching, or a scratching sound. And my face was prickly, and I was like, felt like in a panic. And I was like really, really freaked out. Like my heart was pounding for no reason at all. It was just like there was something else there. And it took me a long time to get back to sleep. You know, I was like, had my blankets up, and it was hot. You know, I was like sweating bullets. And I just like, you know, like I just expelled, you know, tried to put it out, put out my energy and try to go back to sleep. And then I woke up the next morning, and we didn't necessarily talk about it. And then that day we played a show in Iron Mountain, and it was like a 40-minute drive or something. No, it was a drive, maybe a half-hour drive. And so we went and we played the show, and we were driving back on the way back. And on the way back we started talking, and Lindsay said she didn't sleep at all the night before. And May said she was really uncomfortable. She felt like icky when she woke up in the morning. And I told them, you know, like, I think I broke this barrier. I don't know what it was. Maybe the land down there, the Pharaoh land, wasn't supposed to be disturbed. You know, like maybe it wasn't for me. You know, and I like it feels different. And that at that time, we were still in the car, because we had no cell phone reception out at the cabin. And so we were driving back, and I called my mom, and I told her what happened. And she was like, she told me, first of all, to like draw this symbol that it's like this, is it that?
Yep.
It's this symbol that, what did you say? What was the purpose of?
It is an anchor. It's a symbol that signifies your connection with your physical and your spirit self. So when you draw this, the act of drawing it, it isn't like putting a cross on the wall or something, but the act of drawing it, tracing it, draw it in the sand, draw it on your palm of your hand, just without anything really being there. You just draw this, and it is a clear symbol to things in spirit that you are not just spirit, you're physical, which gives you an upper hand.
That's right. That's what you said. It gives you an upper hand.
You have more control because you are both physical and spirit than something that is just spirit.
Yes, and that's so I drew it on a piece of paper, and I put it in the middle of the table. And okay, I'm getting events out of order. I'm trying to remember how it went, because when we were.
So you're in the car, and I told you about doing this symbol.
Yeah, because
I also told you about putting your bubble out.
Yeah, so that's what she told me. She said, so when you get there, just expand your bubbles and so much there is not room for any other energy. Mm-hmm. And imagine it like bulging out the doors and windows. Like imagine, you know, like you're pushing your energy to extend beyond the house. Like to really put stress on the walls and like bubble it out. And so on the ride home, we were talking about not staying there because we were like, this is icky, this is creepy. And, you know, and I told them, you know, that there's something happening there. And Lindsay's like, there's never been anything, you know, there's never been anything spooky at the camp. And I was like, I think I did it. And so we were like, well, let's just pull up there and like, let's just go in there and see what it's like. And I'm like, I'll go. Well, I'll draw the symbol, you know, and we'll leave it on the table. And we pulled up, and it was like, we all like looked at each other. I mean, it was the lights were on. It didn't look weird, but it was obviously there was something. Like we're all like, oh my God! And even Lindsay was like, what's that? You know, like
didn't she tell it was okay to stay?
What?
Didn't she tell it could
Oh,
stay?
yes, that's right.
I said, oh, honey.
That's right. She said, okay, so this must have been okay, so this must have been over 2 nights. I'm trying to remember. Sorry. So that spooky, I didn't sleep at night that one night. Then the next day was another, it wasn't until 2 days after that we went to the show and came back. Okay, because it was the next day that Lindsay said I had told them that I was really uncomfortable last night, and then I think I like let something in or something. And she said that when she was coming out of the sauna, no, she was in the sauna after I told her the story, and she was like, if she didn't want to, like, she said if something like, if you're good, you can stay, and if you're not, please leave, or whatever.
Yeah, she was thinking that it may be an ancestor
or
somebody.
Like a relative.
And just, we're working here. It's okay if you're here. You can be here, but we're here to work and do our, do this kind of thing.
Yep. And then...
Without knowing what it was.
Yeah, without knowing what it was. And, okay, I'm totally screwing this up because... So I told them about what happened the night before during the day when we woke up the next morning. And it was shortly after that Lindsay went to the sauna and said that, we're working here. It's okay. You can stay. And then it was that night that we played the show. And so it was just one really spooky night for me, uncomfortable night for me. And then, so the next day, I tell the ladies that I asked if the cabin was haunted or if anybody's ever had anything happen there. She's like, no, never. This place is super chill. Lindsay's like, I've stayed out here by myself for days at a time. And then that she had the impetus to say, we're working here. It's okay if you can stay. She didn't want to tell ancestors to leave. And then, we did our thing that day. Then we went to the show. We came back on the car ride home talking about what happened. And then Lindsay told me that in the car ride on the way back. She told us that. And I was like, oh no. And when we pulled up, it was like all the lights were on. Like we left the lights on. It didn't look spooky, but it was like, oh shit. Like we pulled in the driveway and we're like, it's dark, it's nighttime, and we just look at each other.
Like we would feel sometimes going up north.
Yeah, we were just like, I don't want to go in there. Do you want to go in there? No, I don't want to go in there. Will you go in there? And it was like that. And so what we decided to do was go inside and get our stuff. And then, so we went inside, and it was really hard. It's before I walked in. May even was like, I don't even want to go in there. And I'm like, I'll go in first. And so I led with that energy, and right. I was scared. Right. So I was like using that as power, and I was like flipping it inside out, pushing it forward. And as soon as I walked through the door, I was like, I put it in the door before I went in. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as I got in, I opened it up to the room, And then and I'm holding it, like I'm pressing it, and I'm drawing the symbol, on the table, on a piece of paper on the table. And May and Lindsay are gathering stuff, and I'm drawing the symbol. And I leave it on the table, and I walk around the room, and I'm just pushing stuff out. And I'm pushing it out. I'm gathering my stuff, and I'm pushing stuff out. And May is going inside and outside and putting stuff in. And I'm gathering my stuff, and I'm standing, like, between the table and the door, about to walk out to take some stuff out there. And May comes bolting in, and she's like, I'm not going back out there. I'm not going back out there.
Because you pushed it out, so it's right outside the door.
And what she said is that she was loading stuff in the car.
Sorry, I'm laughing.
She was loading stuff in the car, and she saw a black shadow go across the floodlight outside. Oh. Like it dimmed the light. Like it made a shadow. And then she said she whipped around, and because she saw the shadow happen, and on the ground there was this like clear, like fluid-looking, shimmery, almost like heat shimmer. Like when something's hot, like the hood of a car is hot.
Right.
She saw that come out the door. And so first she saw this shadow, and then she saw this like shimmer come out the door, and just kind of like, like
dissipate. Right.
And then we were like, okay, let's get the fuck out of here. And so we left all the lights on, and we threw stuff in the car, and I left the symbol on the table, and we went like a mile down the road to Lindsay's mom and dad's house. And we stayed there, and then, like, I remember in the morning, like, I stayed in a room downstairs, and I remember in the morning, like, Lindsay was on the couch and her dad was like, "Where are all the girls here?" And her mom's like, "They said the cabin's haunted," and like they, it was just like in passing, it was like she was like, "Oh, they said the cabin's haunted, so they came here last night." And Greg's like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "That's funny," and that was it. That was the end of the conversation. But it wasn't until like I was able to think about it, assess later what May had seen is that she had seen the dark thing, be driven out, and the shimmer was my energy.
Your energy coming after her. Yeah. pushing
Yeah.
out.
And so she visually saw with whatever her perception, a visual of my energy expulsion of whatever, my
Of
expanding
whatever
energy.
that thing was.
Yeah, and she saw the shadow dim the light, and then she saw this shimmer, and she freaking like actually saw it. And I remember being like, "Oh my God, she saw my energy!" And then at that point, I'm like, "Oh my God, I can really do this!" Like I've seen I've been around when my mom was doing that. I feel safe around her because she can do that, and I could do it. Like, holy crap, I could do it. And it was like, honestly, that was the last time I was afraid, and I didn't even put that together until just now.
Because that was the first time you did that symbol.
Yeah,
And you realized your power.
that was the last
then
time I had
you-
an uncomfortable.
And you used your power, and it was witnessed by someone else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that was totally the last time I felt afraid because of something supernatural. And then it was that instance that I was like, "Oh my God, I can totally do this!" Like, I did it. I did it. And I wonder what the cabin's like now, but I don't know.
You know what I think happened? I don't know if I told you this then, but is listening to you now, I think what happened is when you walk through that threshold, there's places where things
Yeah.
are thin and you go through. And I think whatever was there, you realized it was there.
Yeah.
And so once something knows it's there, and you acknowledge that, very often you're going to be having an interaction with whatever it is.
Because you had an interaction with it.
Right.
That
And-
acknowledgement is
Yeah.
an interaction.
Ezra was talking tonight about his strategy is that when he senses that something is there, he feels it, he recognizes that it's there, but he doesn't acknowledge it at all, and that way it dissipates because
Yeah.
he's not.
Like feeding it, basically.
Well, I think I don't know if it's feeding it. I don't know if they have harm in mind. I think it's a trying to communicate.
And so if there's no line of communication,
Then
it leaves you alone.
But as soon as you recognize, and whoever it was, watched you go there and were like, "Oh, I feel this. I'm going back." It was like, "I'm going too."
Yeah, and it did. And it really did feel like that there was this like bubble that the cabin and the lawn and the buildings were inside of.
Right.
It really, and once I went out into that feral section, it felt really different.
And now that you know what your energy is,
Yeah.
when you back out of something, the reason that you back out is because this is where you push your energy.
Yeah.
So you have to push it away as you go through.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it doesn't follow. But things will, just walking backwards won't keep something from following.
Right.
You have to use your energy
Yeah.
to not let it follow you
Yeah.
and acknowledge that it's there and say, "Stop, stay."
And I thought that I was doing that, but I didn't. I guess I didn't do. I like kind of half-assed it, maybe. Like I didn't like.
Well, as it turned out, it was a really good thing.
Yeah.
Because you realized what you could do.
Yeah.
So that was one of your awakening experiences.
Yeah, it totally was, and it was the last time that I felt that prickly, that I felt a lot lack of control over a situation, which is interesting.
That is interesting. She was terrified of this stuff forever.
I was. I couldn't
She
stand
said,
it.
"La la la la. No, I'm not gonna ever see ghosts. I'm not gonna. They're never. I have no sensitivity. I'm never gonna be.
I
able to see
couldn't
them."
stand it. It was like I felt it was something that was around me all the time. It was part of family culture, but it was something that I couldn't grasp, and now it's just like, I tell to Leela, I tell it to her, you don't have to be scared, like it's just part of nature,
Right.
You know, is how I describe it. And she's like, I love nature. and so I tell her it's just part of the natural world, you know. It's not, I mean, supernatural, like,
There's no such thing as
yeah,
supernatural.
yeah.
What the
I mean,
heck
like,
is that? No wonder people don't believe in the supernatural
Yeah.
because it doesn't exist. It's all
you
part of
could
nature.
call it paranormal, but supernatural really does kind of like leave a bad taste in my mouth because it is very natural. Like,
Yeah,
it's
even-
it's one of the oldest natural things that exists in whatever in our world.
in our cellular memory.
Yeah.
Older than us, older than humans, I think. Many of those things. And even paranormal, like, it's not quite normal. Well, it depends on what house you live in and what's
Yeah.
normal. And so instead of paranormal, I heard on someone call them anomalous experiences, where they're little anomalies, where they don't fit what is perceived as the norm. You know, I grew up with, you know, an illness where doctors, when things weren't going the way they thought they should go, they call it normal abnormalities. And so I think normal anomalies are when the spirit world comes through
Yeah.
and other dimensions and
Yeah.
the multiverse, when the multiverse becomes apparent.
Multiverse. Yeah. It's not last week this is should I start story number 2?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this is the second little anecdote that I had, little story I had when I was talking to T.I. So last weekend, I guess it was last week, so it was like a week ago today, Friday, a week ago today. I was in Nashville with kids. Dominic was gone to Dallas for the weekend. I had been like hearing things move around in other rooms. First of all, my house in Nashville is 80 years old. It's had 2 previous owners. It's so peaceful, so calm, so full of light, such positive energy there. It's like, it is the least scary place you'll ever see. You know?
But you need to acknowledge that Grandma Herbert, whose
Yeah.
house it was, is there and is a very helpful, mindful grandmother
Yeah.
to you and the kids
Yeah.
and your family.
I call her a house spirit because I know, like, this is the woman she lived in the house. She died 10 years, a little more than 10 years ago. She moved in there in the 60s, raised her family there, and like had I think 6 kids was in their family. Her son is our landlord, and she was just like the mama in the neighborhood. And there are times when I'll be standing at my kitchen sink and I'll feel her like smiling at me. I could feel her really positive vibes coming from her. It's not spooky. It just feels like I don't know, like,
I feel like she helps you out too,
yeah, I feel like she
intervenes.
helped us out.
and helps with things.
And so that there's a house spirit there, but it is so benevolent and calming and loving and very unintrusive. But for the past couple of weeks, I was hearing stuff moving around. Never heard this in my house before, in other rooms, sounding like things moving, floor creaking. I mean, it is getting colder in Nashville, but it's stuff like dishes moving in the dish drainer, the water going on and off for a second, like things, hearing the chair upstairs move like a teeny tiny little bit, so you could barely, maybe you can't, you're not really sure what it is. So I've been hearing that for maybe like a week before. Then Dominic goes to Dallas on Friday early in the morning, and Leela's school starts an hour before Virgil. So I take Leela to school, then I come back and I wake Virgil up and he gets up and gets ready to school, and then I take him to school. So I had taken Leela to school. Virgil was still asleep when I left to take her to school, and he had woken up while I was gone. And when I came back, he was like, "Oh, I thought you were here," and I was like, "No." And he said, "Where's Papa?" And I said, "He left for the airport like an hour ago." And I was like, "Why?" And he's like, "'Cause I heard you walking around upstairs." And I was like, "No, I was taking Leela to school." And he was like, "Well, I went in my room and I heard you come down the stairs and go in the kitchen." And I was like the radio, the news radio's on in the kitchen, like maybe he heard that and felt my energy in there, because I'm always in there when the radio's on. And he was like, "No, I heard you I heard walking upstairs. It was, I cannot like deny that I heard this and heard you in the kitchen. And I was like, and I was like, yeah, I'm like, I kind of been hearing some weird stuff around the house, stuff moving around the house. And he was like, well, I heard you. And I was like, don't worry about it. I was like, it's probably Grandma Herbert, like, don't worry about it. It's nothing. It feels great in here. And then the next day was Saturday. Saturday night, let's see. Oh, Virgil had a friend stay Friday night, and then he went home in the afternoon on Saturday. And then Saturday night, Virgil's sleeping in his room, and Lilo is sleeping in my bed upstairs with me because Dominic was gone. And I went to bed after she did. She went to sleep a couple hours before I did. Then I went to bed, and I was sound asleep. And I woke up because I felt her crawling over me to get off the bed. And so I kind of felt her on the edge of the bed, and so I was like startled awake because I wanted to like help her get down, and so I was like startled awake like this, and I was gonna go to help her, and she is sound asleep right next to me, and I still felt this pressure on the edge of the bed, like somebody was still sitting there maybe, and it was not a heavy person, that's why I thought it was Leela, because it was a light pressure, but it was still there when I was awake, and I was laying there, and I would acknowledge that I felt it, but I didn't feel the prickly energy. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel threatened. I almost felt like there was definitely something there, but maybe it didn't know that I was there. Like maybe it didn't know where it was or what it was doing. And then I looked at the clock, and it was exactly 3 a.m, and I don't know. I've heard that is a thing, and I do have to say that when I am someplace that has activity, I will inexplicably wake up suddenly at 3 a.m. It's happened a few times. It's actually happened a few times recently when we stayed in this famous haunted hotel in Chattanooga last month, and we didn't have anything happen to us except I woke up like at 3 a.m. and then was like, no, there's nothing here. And then I went back to sleep. So I don't know what the significance of that is or why that happens or what that is. I don't know what it is. But it was exactly 3:00 in the morning. And so I'm laying there, and I acknowledge that there still is pressure there. And then it slowly kind of like dissipates, And then I hear Virgil walking around downstairs, like going into the kitchen to get some water or something. And at 3 a.m. And then I realize that the footsteps, whoever's making the footsteps, they have shoes on, and it's making heavy clicking sounds on the floor, and it was undeniable. And at this point, I was scared because I thought that the real person was in the house. And this is something that I'm afraid of, is like when Dominic's gone, somebody will break into the house. And so that's when I got scared, when I thought it was a real person. And so I got up, like I was so scared. I was so and I got up to go see. I was like, I have to go see what's going on. I had my phone in my hand if I had to dial 911. And I start walking down the stairs, and the footsteps are still walking around, but it's hard to describe. It sounds like they just went farther and farther away, but not in the space. Like the sound sounded like it was really far away, but it was still in the dining room. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Almost like an echo, I guess. And it faded really, really quickly. And then it was gone. And then I knew that it was something. But when I realized it wasn't a real person, I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't afraid. I was like, oh, okay, we're fine. I checked to make sure the doors were locked. Virgil was still sleeping. The windows are locked. I did all of those things. I realized I wasn't afraid of spirits that could be in the house. What I'm afraid of is an
intruder,
dangerous person. Yeah, people are way scarier.
I agree. I always say that.
And I felt calm, and I felt safe and secure, and didn't feel scared even a teeny tiny little bit. And I just went back upstairs, and I went to sleep and was fine. And I knew my family was safe from dangerous humans. And so I went to sleep, and Leela woke up before me the next morning, and when I came downstairs, she was like, where's Papa? And I was like, he's not coming home until like 6 o'clock tonight. And she was like, he's here. And I was like, no, he's not here. I'm like, why do you think he's here? And she said she was in the living room watching cartoons, and she heard the back door open but not close. And when our back door closes, it makes a huge loud slamming sound. And so she heard it makes a loud sound when it opens, so like a creaking sound because it's an old screen door. But then when it closes, it's like, bam! And she said she heard the door open but not close. And so she thought that Papa had come home. And I was like, nope. And I was like, and I didn't want to scare her. And,
Somebody else came home.
yeah, so I didn't want to tell her what was going on. I didn't want to freak her out because, she's little. She's scared of that stuff. So I kind of kept it to myself. But then a little bit later, I called TA. And I was like, okay, something's happening in here. Will you help me figure it out? And I'm not scared of it. It's not threatening. I can't tell what it is. I can't tell if it's residual. Like, my theory was, like, our landlord had an older brother that went to Vietnam and was messed up when he came back. He lived in the house with his mom and as an adult, and like had a really hard time with PTSD. And what I thought was maybe he has just passed and doesn't know, or he came to this space, but there's no way for me I don't know his name. I know that his nickname was Stinky. That's all I know.
I don't think you can look that up on the internet.
I can't look that up on the internet. And
you know what? I had a thought about that.
Okay.
That maybe he didn't pass. Maybe he was dreaming of home.
What would
and
that...
lucid dreaming, like astral traveling. And
maybe.
being going back to his, in his sleep. Or maybe he is in a...
Like sitting on the bed, though?
You'd be surprised.
Well,
what you could do with...
I know that his room was upstairs where our room
Yeah.
is.
Did it feel? But it felt like a child, so maybe he was dreaming of his childhood.
Maybe. Because it didn't feel like that heaviness that accompanies a spirit of the dead.
So it was maybe...
That's why I was thinking it was residual. Like, that was like my initial feeling was that it was residual.
Won't leave a print on your bed.
Exactly. Right.
Something that's residual will happen all the time.
Yeah.
And repeat
it's
like a
on
loop.
repeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nothing like that's ever happened.
This is something else happening, and it didn't happen. Is it still happening? It just happened for that short period of time. Maybe he was not. Maybe he was ill. Maybe he was, in a drugged or a comatose state of some kind, or someone.
Yeah.
That came back and returned in their subconscious.
It still is a mystery. I don't have a real clear intuition on what it was. Like, my uncle was in health distress at that very same time, and then we also had another relative that just passed away a few days earlier.
Right.
And so I don't think it was that though, and I really don't.
It was someone that knew the house.
Maybe it was somebody traveling through too.
Yeah, but the door and the upstairs and moving in the kitchen and stuff.
Yeah, it was there for a few days. Yeah.
Yeah, someone who knew the house and was just kind of hanging out. A safe place to heal while they healed.
Yeah, and because I wasn't.
Or before they left.
I just don't feel threatened in that house at all because I know Grandma's there.
Yes.
And I really do feel like she's looking out for me.
Yeah, she is.
I really do feel like that.
The first time I went and stayed there and stayed in the room that's Virgil's room now.
Yeah.
The door opened and I felt like there was a grandma in the door.
Yeah.
And I just
you said who you were.
I said who I was. I said I'm the grandma. I said I see you are too.
Uh-huh.
But not out loud. I don't say that stuff out loud. I'm just like I think it. But I didn't really see her. I just sensed her there.
Yeah. Right.
And she just was.
That's what it is.
She was just looking. It was like.
Like, who is that?
Yeah.
That was her room too.
Oh, no wonder.
Yeah, that was her room.
So me telling her I'm the grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was where she sat. One time I was traveling and I had to schedule a taxi for early in the morning. I had to leave really early in the morning. And I scheduled a taxi with there's a couple Nashville taxi companies. I didn't do rideshare, I didn't do Uber or Lyft. I did Yellow Cab because it was the best price. And so I called the night before, I scheduled it for the morning, and this cab minivan came to pick me up at like 5 a.m. and helped me with my stuff. And as we were pulling out, the guy asked, "Is there an older lady that lives here?" And I was like, "No, not anymore." You know, I'm like, there was a lady that lived here before us that passed away. And this guy told me that he knew Grandma Herbert, that she would call the cab company, ask for him specifically. He would come to the house, come in, help her with her socks and shoes, help her put on coffee, and go take her to the grocery store, help her run her errands, and wait for her to come out and then take her home. And this cab driver, I think what he told me was that when he saw the address for the
He
schedule,
thought it was going to be her.
he took it because he'd been to that house. And so he told me the story on the way to the airport, that he used to come in and help Grandma Herbert, and she was the sweetest old lady. She was the sweetest lady. She was such a sweet lady. I loved seeing her every day. She was always so nice.
Was he an older guy?
No, actually, maybe a little older than me, than I was.
Nice.
Not maybe he was like 10 years older, actually.
Yeah, but
Yep.
still, someone helping an old
So he knew her. It was such a cool
old
encounter.
lady.
Yeah.
That's so cool. That's really sweet. What time we got?
It's 1:45.
Okay, you had something else you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Will you, though, preface this story by explaining or maybe describing when you're in the spirit world, what the visual, like you have been in places where the veil is really thin,
I've been through the veil.
Yes. And you describe this light that exists in the spirit world. Will you, I don't know, can you do a little
So
tell a little story about that?
whenever I'm in that place, I've learned to, because sometimes you slip there, without realizing. Well, I do. I have in my life in the past. Now I know it when I do, but in the past I end up in places that just are different. And what happens is there is a certain light, and it is like this amber light. It's not quite like candlelight. It's a little more pinkish than candlelight, but it is the kind of light that, like, there's just before sunset, when everything gets that blast of that amber pre-sunset light. That's the closest I've seen to it. Except this light, there's no shadow cast, and there's no everything you can see super acutely and equal.
Wiggling the camera.
Oh, I'm wiggling the camera. So, it's something that just fills. There's no darkness there. There's no shadow. It's just all illuminated with this really pleasant colored light. And there's also a feeling that's different. It feels like if things are sucked, if the regular air gets sucked out of the space, but as it's sucked out of the space, it's filled with something that is just tangible, that you can feel on your skin, you can sense in all of your senses, and it's, the atmosphere is different. It's like you're not breathing regular air anymore, that it's something that is, you're in a dream. You're in this amazing place. You don't feel temperature, you don't feel hot, you don't feel cold, you don't feel wet or dry. It's just you're just there, and it's comfortable, and it's lit in this very pleasant, soothing light. Everything is soothing on your senses. Is that kind of?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So the reason, you'll find out why I asked her to describe that just now, but so a couple of weeks ago, I got to experience I had a defining moment in my life, whatever, as an artist, as a performer. 2 weekends ago, I got to be in Lindsay Lou's band when she opened for Green Sky Bluegrass at the Ryman Auditorium. And this was such a huge deal. You know, it's the venue of the original Opry. And I've been to so many shows there. I've seen Dominic play so many shows there. I've been in the wings many times, but I've never actually been on the stage. And we did 2 nights, Friday and Saturday. And
Halloween weekend.
Halloween
the veil
weekend.
Is very thin anyway.
It was the Friday and Halloween was Sunday, and we played Friday and Saturday. And Friday was the first day of the show, and I had been mentally preparing for it and physically preparing for it for like a long time. I had made costume, like I'd sewn rhinestones and embroidered like garments for the show. We did like old school costumes. The first night, Lindsay Lou was like 1980s Dolly Parton, and I was Linda Ronstadt. And the second night, Lindsay was Loretta Lynn, and we were all like Loretta's band, and we were wearing like, the band was like wearing matching vest suits with fringes and sparkles, and I had these amazing sparkly boots on that I sprained my ankle, and it still hurts, but it was worth it if you saw the boots. I'm gonna wear them again.
The boots.
Oh my God, they're amazing. But Friday, that day, I was pretty like, woo, you know, like I was not very good at being present because I was trying to be prepared. And being prepared is the opposite of being present.
Exactly.
Being prepared is getting ready for something that's going to happen. So I was still in that prep frame of mind, and I wasn't really present. And so that night I sang, it was kind of like a blur. And also too, like we did Dolly Parton songs and Loretta Lynn songs, so it was all brand new material, stuff I hadn't played really before. I had just learned. So that's a little nerve-wracking, and it's on this really famous stage too.
Full house.
Yeah, packed, you know, and it was just like, it was fun to be up there, but I wasn't, you know, maybe I wasn't totally present. And then the second night, Saturday night, everything was there. I didn't have to haul anything. I knew the songs better. I felt more prepared, so I didn't have to be prepared, you know, like get prepared. I felt like I was. And we performed, we were playing the opening set, and we performed the Warbler song Mad at You. And it's on the new album. I don't know if you guys know the new Warbler album, but it's like this huge song, and the vocals are huge. And then 2 of the members of Lindsay's band were also in our band, the Warbler band for the studio band that played on the record. And so people knew the songs, and it was just like this like wonderful moment. And I knew the song, and at this point, like I felt like electrified. And I like looked out at the crowd, and like at the Ryman, like right in front of you is the balcony, and then there's the upper deck seating, and then there's the orchestra seating. And directly in front of you when you're standing on the stage is the sign that only the people facing that way can see. It says Ryman Auditorium 1892. And I look out, and there's like fog machines on the stage. But so it's hazy out there, and all I see is this golden haze. Like it looked like a glitter bomb went off, and it's just hanging out over the crowd, and it's golden. And I had this moment where I was like, this is happening now. This is happening. And like all of a sudden, it's like time was, like all the things were happening all at once. Like everybody that ever stood where I was standing, and everybody that will ever stand where I was standing, all this collective energy, and was so concentrated. And it's like I felt like the eyes of everyone that's ever sat in the seats to see something spectacular. You know, like Elvis Presley stood on the stage when he was 19 years old and played for a crowd for people for the first time. And they told him when he was done that he shouldn't quit truck driving. And there were people in the crowd that saw that for the first time. And there were people in the crowd when Johnny Cash kicked out the footlights. And there were people in the crowd when Hank Williams played the Opry and he was the biggest star in the world. And I felt these eyes of all of these people in the seats there at the same time. And I like planned, like I put my footprints in the wood on the stage, you know, like I pushed it down and I put it down and I put it out and I felt all of this stuff at once and it was all around me and it was like being on drugs. I mean, it was like I felt completely, totally high and the light was golden and I just got super emotional. It was in the middle of the song and I'm getting choked up and I know that I'm gonna start crying if I don't like pull it together. But I felt it and I knew it was happening at that very moment. And I'm in this golden light, looking out of this golden light, feeling all of the energy from this amazing, amazing stage. And I held on to it. I felt it the whole time. It stayed till the end of the set. And then when I walked off the stage, I just kind of like floated off the stage. And then once I was off the stage and in the wings, I like bolted up the stairs to our dressing room and just started sobbing because it was such an important moment. It was such a huge thing. And I was aware of it and I was present for it. And I was like, oh my God, you know, it was not lost on me. Like the magnitude, the magnitude of this moment was not lost. And it was a big thing. And so it was all there all at once. And, you know, I wrote this little thing and I sent a text to my mom and dad and to my friend, my cousin, and just kind of recorded what I was feeling at that moment. And then it kind of flittered away. And then I realized that I had some more songs to sing with Green Sky. I was going to sit in with Lindsay and sing a couple of songs with them later. And so I went back to like, you know, after the show rage mode and you know, just had this gratitude that's going to have, you know, it's going to have this echo, you know, this gratitude for this moment. It was so huge. It like made a imprint on my soul, you know, the gratitude that I had at this moment for this, what I was doing it right then. And then later, Lindsay and I went out to sing with Green Sky, and they set us up right in the middle, and had our mics in the middle, and I was concentrating on where I was, you know, and then like looking to see people making eye contact, looking at Lindsay, you know, and I didn't look out in the crowd. I was just like, you know, getting ready, and then it was time to sing, and I lifted up my eyes expecting to see what I had seen, you know, like looking out and feeling the golden light, and it was indigo. It was dark purple.
It wasn't there anymore.
It was dark blue. It was dark purple. It was not there. It was not the same. It didn't feel the same. It didn't. The floor didn't feel the same. This fluid time that I was feeling wasn't there. It was totally different, and it was almost exactly the same place I was standing in before. And it looked different and it felt different. And I was like, when I turned my head up, I was expecting to see it, and I felt surprise when I looked up and just saw this dark blue shade, the shadow of the house, you know. And I expected to see and the lights weren't different. It was the same stage lights, you know, like, I mean, Green Sky has like sweet laser lights, but this was just the regular stage lights. There was nothing special about it. You know, it was the same spotlights that were on us during that part, and it looked completely different. And I remember being like, what's that about? You know, in my head, you know, I remember being like, that is weird. That's weird. And then I'd be like, I'm gonna ask T.I. about this, you know? And then when I told her about it, I was like, what is that about? And then she told me that golden hue is the color of the spirit world. And it was the night before Halloween, and it's like, and I swear I felt all of the people that ever got dressed up to go sit in those seats to see the Opry, you know, like,
and everybody who stood on that stage for the first time.
Yes.
And everyone was there, and I have a feeling that happens sometimes. I don't think it happens all the time, but I'll bet that that energy, when it's recognized, like that thing in the field, recognized that you
Yeah.
recognized it, and all of a sudden it all congeals and it all is there to celebrate that
Yeah.
joy again.
We looked very classic too. Like Lindsay Lou looked like Loretta Lynn. So I mean, I feel it's like she had her hairdo. She had the costume that she wore the first time she played the Opry. She had a duplicate of that costume. So I felt like maybe they're there anyways, and they recognized us. Like it was like, oh, look who it is.
Yeah, I think they recognize your energy, not the costumes.
Maybe it was definitely like, there they are. You know, like that's what it felt like. You know, like if I had to put it into words, it's like that. What the feeling that I was feeling from this big void, this space in front of the stage was, there they are. That's them. Can you believe this? You know, like this, like excitement. I don't know. It was pretty cool. I feel like that I put my energy in that spot, and it's just gonna like mingle there with the
It
energy
is.
of
So
all
someday
of the-
someone will also feel your energy.
yeah. When somebody
they
has that
say theaters
experience,
are
I'll
haunted.
be there. Yeah.
Yeah, they say that theaters are haunted because of all of the emotional energy that's put into performances, and I think that's what you experienced.
It
You-
was
You
wild.
tapped into that, and now your energy is now part of that.
Yeah, it's now part of the tapestry.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yep, the history.
Yeah. And I particularly love what you did up in the dressing room too. Can you tell
What?
by the window?
Oh, yes! So it was Halloween night, and like we were wearing these vintage costumes, and like my hair was like totally like 60s vintage, and I was wearing this like vest, this navy blue vest, and it had like rhinestone shaped star and rhinestone shaped moon, and it had fringes, and I had this like silky puffy sleeve shirt and stuff. And so the back stairs that go to the dressing rooms at the Ryman have like the tall church windows in them that span like 2 floors. And the windows in the stairwell for the west side dressing rooms face Lower Broadway, and this was the Saturday before Halloween, and so it was like a shit show down there. There were 1 million people in Lower Broadway, and then just below this window in the stairwell is the deck for like one of the Lower Broadway bars called Legends. And so I was like, and the light was kind of dim and maybe a little flickery in there. There was like a little, like, it was a kind of fluorescent light that's a little green, you know?
Yeah.
And it was like, tick, 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 and it was kind of creepy. And so I was standing in the railing in the window hoping that somebody would see me and think I was a ghost. And so I was just standing there really still hoping somebody would see me. And then Anthony DaCosta, the guitar player, he came down around the stairs and he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm just standing here hoping somebody sees me and thinks I'm a ghost." And he thought it was hysterical. So he sat on the stairs by me and videoed, like, waited until somebody saw me. Somebody totally came out on the patio, a dude and a lady, and I lean and I'm staring directly at them, like hard eye contact. And Anthony's taking a video, and the guy looks up at me and he waves, and I just stand there and make this like hard eye contact with them, and I had this really severe look on my face, and I tried to look sad. And the guy waved, and he looked up at me, and he noticed I didn't move. And then he like turned away to like whatever, take a drag on a cigarette, and I didn't move. And he looked back, and I still hadn't moved. And then the next time he looked away, I like ran away from the window so it looked like I disappeared. And Anthony got it all on video.
So she got to play a ghost on TV.
Yeah, I was like, I'm hoping that if I stand in this window, somebody will see me and think I'm a ghost.
So somebody went home from Nashville with their story that they saw a ghost in the Ryman.
Hopefully they told somebody that they saw a ghost in the window of the Ryman
And hopefully
Auditorium.
they won't see this and have that story for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Well,
Wouldn't that be funny?
wouldn't that be great? Oh my God. So I think we've just filled another hunk of time here on Ghost Stories with Spooky Miss T.I.
Yep, that's it.
And Rachael Davis. Rachael, thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me. I'm a TI.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
So nice to have you here, and it's nice to have a live living room audience. You
Yes.
can't say studio audience. We've got
You guys want to applaud or something? So we
there's
don't. They know we're
Scooter,
out there.
and Layla's here, and Leela.
Leela looks half asleep.
Yeah, I think she was asleep.
Oh, her eyes are closed
She's
now.
snuggling Layla.
Oh, I love it. Hey, folks, you all be good to yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, for goodness sakes. And wash your hands still. wear a mask in public, and be smart, and be here next time.
Everybody's got a story.
Everybody has a story.
Don't be judgmental.
That's right. That's right.
Everybody has a story.
Some people have a story about a ghost in the Ryman.
It wasn't a ghost, it was me. It was me.
What you don't know is there was probably a ghost standing right behind you.
There probably was. And they were like, there was 2 ghosts in the window.
Amazing.
One of them looked really lame and the other one looked really scary.
And the other one waved back.
And the other one waved back.
And the ghost is behind you like, come on now.
Amateur.
Amateur.
Who's this Bush League person?
All right, friends. Take care. See you in 2 weeks. It will be the Friday after Thanksgiving, and I think I will have another guest. So.
Scary ghost stories
Scary.
of Christmases long, long ago. It'll be Christmas season. You're going to have to tell some spooky holiday ghost stories.
I think what we'll do is another Zoom.
Crumpus.
Last year, what we did was, because the holidays, the Yule was a time when people would gather around the fire and tell ghost stories. That's why the Christmas Carol is a ghost story. Anyway, last year we did a Zoom story circle where people got to tell their own ghost stories. So
yeah,
I
that
think,
was actually pretty cool.
I think we may do that again this year. So stay posted and be well. And I'm going to push the finish button.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.